What's going on, y'all? So listen. What's going on, y'all? I feel like I'm going to make this probably a little series. Coming to y'all with some of the things that I've seen on TikTok that have been a big trending topic. And at this point, if you watch my What It Is, I discussed it a little bit, but it's been on my brain and it keeps popping up on my For You page on TikTok. And again, we have another story time that has 15,000 parts to it when it literally could have just been 10 minutes. Okay, it could have been just one part. And I feel like it probably would have been received a little bit better if it was just one, maybe two parts. Um, Everybody is not a storyteller. I'm just going to say that. Everybody is not a good storyteller. And that's just really what it is. You know, shout out to Risa Tisa because Risa Tisa, you know, she was very thorough, very detailed, and I was engaged. Okay. I was just like, girl, what? And some people may try to compare this situation with Risa Tisa. But again, as we all been saying on the TikTok and other social media platforms, that the difference between this situation, even though both of them are dealing with being played by a man or played by a potential, partner, is the fact that one really lacked discernment and one wasn't really actively trying to get out of the situation. Instead of seeing the red flags, acting on the red flags, getting away from the red flags, she kept running towards the red flags and still does not hold any accountability but want to blame other people for calling out the bullshit, right? So if you don't know what I'm talking about, on TikTok there's this girl, I think her name is Onika or Onika. I'm apologize if I'm, saying it wrong because she is Nigerian American, I believe. But and what got me and gagged me so bad was when it was other Nigerian women who were discussing this and discussing her situation and who said, "Girl, you don't even pronounce your own name correctly." I said, what? Listen, okay, so it's called the Danish deception. And, it's been a lot of talk about it. Basically, the girl got played, quote unquote. She got played, scammed, whichever one you want to call it. And a lot of people do not think that she's a victim in this. 100%, okay? She played a role. She probably started off as a victim, but then she continued on and became a willing participant. That's basically all that it is to it, all right? So you have this woman, like I said, mind you, come to find out, she's been on dating shows like The Bachelor and Bachelor in Paradise. They said she was on The Bachelor show, the season with the Colton guy who turned out to be gay. White guy, okay? Now, of course, we say this is the Danish deception. What is it? Danish deception. And what it all boils down to is this Nigerian American beautiful black woman, okay? Brown skin, dark skin, whichever one you want to call it. I think she's brown skin, dark skin. Either way, she's black, okay? She's a Nigerian American. She's beautiful, right? And she went on a vacation, I think, to Copenhagen and saw this guy that was from Denmark. And instantly, once she starts speaking, first of all, the whole story time has 25 parts plus a conclusion, plus another video where she came back basically saying it's nothing but black women that's hating on her. Okay. Keep that in mind. Once and at first I wasn't even gonna watch it, but I had a little bit of time. I had to do my little exercise, so that was like an hour or whatever. So I just went on ahead and watched it while I was doing my exercise, and I was just sitting there like, girl, what? Girl, well, first of all, it's not even that interesting. because we've heard stories like this. It comes a dime a dozen. People get scammed all day, okay? But the way that she went about things, it was just like, girl, red flags, hitting you, hitting you. There were so many points in the story where she could have just jumped off the train, okay? But she stayed on the train. And truth be told, if he had not broken up the situation, she would have still been on there begging him to stay, because that's exactly what she did, okay? So she met this guy. She came across this guy when she was on vacation, and she made sure to put out there that he was tall, blonde, blue-eyed, and damn near love at first sight for her. And right then and there, for the most part, I don't have a problem with interracial dating, but I have a problem with people who literally seek out to date somebody from, not in their racial, ethnic background. You know what I'm saying? And that's literally what she did. Okay. And I can literally tell as soon as she started talking and telling her story, I was like, she has at the minimum probably one, maybe two black friends, 0 to 2 black friends, and 2 is pushing it. 2 is pushing it. And everybody else is lily white. Okay. And I was correct. I don't know how many black friends she has, but from all of the stuff that we saw and the photos that they had picked up, basically they're all white for the most part. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it is when you are actively trying to be in the proximity of whiteness because you feel like that's a superior thing and that's what you need to uphold. And that's who you need your validation from. Okay? And that is the exact reason why she's in this situation. And you cannot look at this and say race does not play a part in it. She made it about race once she told us at the very beginning what was going on. She made sure to tell us all about that. And we guaranteed you that a lot of this wouldn't have gotten as far as it had gotten if it was a non-white person. Okay? Case in point. She meets this man. She falls for this man. They start talking. Don't even exchange number. Exchanges Instagrams and stuff like that. Over Instagram, they start talking about, let's meet up and all this stuff. Why would you send a stranger that you do not know your passport information and all of that to book flights? You couldn't book a flight yourself? You don't know this person, right? Okay. He's supposed to be this real estate mogul. She's in real estate too. And I said, you didn't find that weird right in there? Like, I understand that, sometimes people do randomly find people who are in similar fields to them. But you put out there that you're in real estate and you're making 6 figures and you're very successful at what you do. And then all of a sudden he wants to say that he's in real estate, but never produced any goddamn real estate. Okay. Not only did he say that, that's not necessarily a red flag right there, right? Okay, cool. The red flag was giving him passport information. Like, what the fuck? Why would you do some stuff like that? Another red flag in the very beginning was when this man said that he is, he's from Denmark. He's Danish. He has a royal title. He's part of the royal family. That can be easily verified. That can be easily Googled, okay? But what she did was took his word for it, and she was like, you're lying. And he was like, I'm for real. Here, look at this website right here. So she took the website that he gave her, specifically, looked at it, and said, oh, okay, cool. Mind you, he could have gave you a phishing website that as soon as you opened that thing up, could have downloaded all of your information. Could have took and drained all of your stuff, got your account, all of that stuff. You just don't know. All right. But even then, you still didn't take it upon yourself to Google and back that up. Because I remember when we was up in school, when we were in school, college, high school, even grammar school, middle school, all of that, when we started doing research papers, they said you need a primary source, a secondary source, and a third source, okay? One can be an internet source, and we need some other stuff, all right? So he gave you a so-called primary source with the whole website. You ain't gonna get a secondary source? Okay. So, she took his word for it on that part. Then took his word for it saying that he was an Olympian. He also not only said that he was an Olympian, he said, yeah, I went to the Olympics, but I didn't actually participate in the actual Olympics. He was probably like the bench warmer. He was the backup to the backup. So we wouldn't have seen him out there doing nothing. And then I think he was for pickleball or some shit like that. And he said that he won a gold medal and a bronze medal. And I believe he said that he either gave the gold medal to his mother or something of the such, and then he gave the bronze medal to charity or something like that. Once again, that could have been easily verified as well. You could have Googled that, okay? You could have literally Googled that. Because somebody tell me some stuff like that. Baby, we literally be out here when people be like, oh, so-and-so my cousin, especially when it's a celebrity. People like, I know I ain't the only one that be like, okay, to try to see and be like, you lying, okay, you lying. They ain't got this, they ain't got that, they ain't even got no sisters or no aunties and all this stuff, whatever. We Google stuff, okay? And yeah, sometimes things on Google don't be right, but still, at the same time, I would have felt a little bit more comfortable if you said you actually did your Googles, okay? Now, not only was that going on, he said he was having back pain because of, he was an athlete. And at one point he needed to have back surgery because he was having real, real bad back pain. And this was around Christmas, right? And so he was going to have the operation probably around Christmas or either the day before Christmas or the day after Christmas, whichever one. He wound up canceling the surgery because his father got sick. And then we never got back to him going back to have this surgery because she was supposed to come out there, unless I missed something or I missed remembering things. She never went out there because she was supposed to go out there to help him get better, take care of him after the surgery. But that didn't happen and they wound up going to Paris. Okay, cool. One thing about this whole situation, throughout everything that was going on, one thing stayed consistent. Besides the fact that she was made herself a willing participant in this man's shenanigans, they traveled so much. They traveled so much. It got to a point where he let her or convinced her to quit her job. Mind you, at this point in time, she don't know. But we already can figure out she was the only one that was really making money. Because this man ain't got no money. The money that this man had, most likely, that he was spending on her, was money that he probably conned out of another woman previous before her. Okay? And other things that he probably was doing that probably was on a scam type level. That's just what it was. And then for the rest, he was using her money to get her stuff. That's just really what it was. That's just really what it was. When she went out there, I think they went to Monaco or somewhere. She wound up passing out. Girl, they went out on a trip. She wound up passing out, hitting her head, having seizures and all this stuff after she drinking something. And the people want to know, did he possibly drug her or whatever? Because why all of a sudden this happened? And it ain't never happened with you. Okay. And I was just like, I don't know about that, but that was a little bit weird. Not only that, you come back home, he's supposed to be in real estate. He's supposed to have all these buildings and all this stuff that he's selling and doing this. He comes from money, right? But yet he starts to ask you for money. He keeps on putting it out there. And let me tell you guys this, for those that don't get it, listen, when somebody all of a sudden who says that they have this and have that, and they start putting things out there like, man, this is being held up because it needs this type of money, but I don't have that on hand right now. And then you be like, oh, I can help you out, or I can send you somewhere to help. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. And they keep bringing it up. And then you keep suggesting. They are fishing. And they're trying to make it seem as though they're not trying to come to you and get money from you. And they're not asking you for the money. They're trying to get it to the point where you be like, you know what? Well, since you offered it, that's what they're doing. And that's exactly what he did. Because she offered to give him the $6,000. And throughout this whole situation, mind you, I believe this happened over 2-3 years, okay? Because they recently got divorced this month. The divorce got final. So, and that comes into play later too. But if you have all this money, then all of a sudden you having all this debt. Why are you asking me, a stranger that you do not know, that you're trying to get to know? Why do you feel so comfortable asking me to help you out with your money issues? If anything, I would be embarrassed and I would take myself out of that situation, because I wouldn't even put myself in a situation to be with another person when I don't have my finances and things together. Okay? We supposed to build together. You ain't supposed to come in trying to fix my stuff and I'm trying to fix your stuff. No. I'm not trying to give you no debt, okay? Because I'm not finna take on your debt. And I'm not about to be giving you money and everything, especially at the very beginning of a relationship or any type of situation that we're in. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, you didn't find that weird that all of a sudden he's bringing up money and he's supposed to come from money and have money, but yet he's not asking anybody else that's on his side, for said money? Girl, I'm sorry. It was just a mess. What the hell is going on? But anyway, so you got that happening, right? And then, again, like I said, consistently going on trips. You never, all of a sudden, real estate falling through. All of a sudden, the IRS has to come into play. And it's like, are you serious? Are we really being serious here? Stuff being put on hold. You're trying to get a passport. You're trying to get a green card. Next thing you know, he's flying back and forth, but the money issue is having an issue still. But you're able to fly back and forth, and that right there, I'm like, do you not see that something about this ain't right? Then it gets to a point where you go ahead and get married to this man, and again, he's not showing you his bank account. He's showing you fake screenshots. You don't even go to his home. Every time you go visit him in his country, you're not staying at his place. You eventually do see his parents. You heard about the fact that, him and his sister don't get along and she's such a bitch and all this stuff. But when you meet the sister, you're like, I don't understand where that's coming from because she's so nice and everything or whatever. The mom doesn't have a problem with you and everything of that such. You should have felt like something was going on and you should have questioned it when all of a sudden the daddy was supposed to be on his deathbed, then he didn't die, and he was so concerned. But then when he did pass away, quote unquote, he was just so nonchalant about it. Okay. Then you get to the point where, this whole time, what was so disturbing about this whole thing was she was smiling. And it felt like at the parts where she was trying to, cry and squeeze out tears, that's literally what she was trying to do. She was trying to squeeze out tears because it just really wasn't working for me. Okay. I was just sitting here like, get to the point. Get to the point. The man scammed you. You allowed yourself to be scammed. And it's like, did he really scam him or did you just give him the money? Okay. Then you find out that, at this point, he's inundated into your family, into your friends, and y'all got a group of friends that you both share. And then you wind up finding out that he borrowed 200 something. What was that? Borrowed $200,000, girl, a piece of fucking. Is that a fella? Anyway, nobody give a fuck. Okay, shit happens. Borrowed $200,000. $200,000, and the wife of the friend had to tell you, and you had to find out on the low. And then you're upset because you didn't find out that he quote unquote has a gambling addiction, and he had to sell off this, sell off that, and come to find out the money that he was using to sell off these watches and stuff, he basically used to gamble. And each and every time you say, if you go back and you relapse or you go back and you keep on gambling, we're not going to do this or whatever, you go back on your word and you keep on staying with the man. There was so much that was going on. One thing I do not play about is my money, okay? I have this biggest fear for those that don't know. that I will not. I have a big fear of not being able to support myself. I have a big fear of having to pack up all my stuff and go back and live with my mom. Okay, because you just never know. I don't want anything to happen. That's why I'm not a spontaneous person when it comes to finances. I have to budget things out. You know, that's just what it is. I need to know when it's coming in, where it's going, how it's going, and when is it going to come back. That's just how it is. I do not like asking people to borrow money because it just makes me feel like, you know what I'm saying? I don't really like loaning out money unless I know that you're a reliable person. You know what I'm saying? But truth be told, I don't like loaning out money because that's my money. But at the end of the day, if you need it and you're my family, you're my friend, and I know that you would never do no stuff like this, I'll help you out if I can. And when that happens, I'm giving it to you. And 9 out of 10, I don't need it back. Okay? So if I got it, I will give it to you. You know? But I don't play with my money. And if I'm in a relationship with you and we're just getting started in this relationship, you starting to ask me for money, you keep on bringing up money, you bringing up your situation with money, I'm backing the fuck out. This was cute trying to get to know you, but this is not going to work because I can see where this is heading. Okay? And I know sometimes they say don't judge a book by its cover, but sometimes you need to judge that bitch by every goddamn cover, page, anecdote, and all of that. The bibliography, all of that stuff. Okay? Because what? This is textbook skinny 101. And you fell for it. And like people say, you are a real estate agent. You work in real estate and you mean to tell me the way that you do your real estate, you don't be looking through everybody's background and getting the money to make sure everything is adding up? How come you didn't do that in your own personal life? And what make this so even messed up is because not only was he borrowing money from the couples that they came to know together, we found out from what she tells us that he was getting money. He had borrowed money from her family and her friends. And then it gets to the point where you're like, this is where I really was just over, because you mean to tell me that you have family and friends that he was able to borrow money from and never told you not one thing about it? Y'all were in that close of a relationship that he was that close to your family that he can come to them on a personal level and ask them for money behind your back, and they giving their loyalty to him because they did not tell you about it? I don't care if it's a surprise supposed to happen. If you ain't got the money, why are you asking me for it? And maybe you need to put that surprise to the back and wait until you get the money, okay? Because no, you not finna come asking my family member anything and they're not gonna tell me nothing. Absolutely not. What type of friends and family does that? Okay? Mind you, they when he got married. They got married. The family and friends didn't know. So the mom and the dad is about to throw them a wedding, a traditional Nigerian wedding, and then she said a white wedding. Now, I was just like, okay, girl. And then this fool trying to say that he's going to pay for it. And at one point, he owed her mama $10,000 or something like that. He owed her money and kept on lying about sending the money. Sending fake screenshots and sending not, transactions that wasn't fully done. You know what I'm saying? It was just really dumb at one point. Well, a whole bunch of points. I'm just sitting here like baffled, like, you saw all of these signs, okay? We see the signs, and you just kept going and going and going. I can understand people love bombing. I can understand people just being so desperate for love, whatever, they'll let things pass. But when it comes to money, my goodness, did you not watch The Tinder Swindler? Because this is literally what it's all about. Did you not watch any of those documentaries that's on Hulu or Netflix talking about the love cons and all of this stuff? Do you not know that? Baby, did you not watch an episode of Catfish? And that's probably why I feel the way that I feel, because at the end of the day, I grew up on catfish, okay? I grew up on catfish. And for those that know, being here from the beginning, y'all know I used to review catfish until it got goddamn ridiculous, okay? Because at one point, you got to wake the fuck up and be like, how do you fall for something like this over and over again? Okay? And some of the stuff be so obvious. And I understand some people, again, they just be blinded. They be blinded, or they just be feeling so desperate for this and desperate for that. And they know and they have that feeling that something's not right, but they just don't want to just be like, I can't lose this because ain't nothing coming back to me. I don't know when the next coming or all of this stuff. So you will rather sit there and just get hurt, get financially fucked over, and just to stay with your white, tall, blonde hair, blue-eyed man. And baby, when I seen the picture, mind you, she said he looked like a Calvin Klein model and all that stuff. Girl, I don't know what I was picturing. I'm thinking fine like how Brad Pitt was fine back in the day. Y'all remember when Brad Pitt was on Thelma and Louise with the long hair? When he was in Interview with the Vampire, some shit like that? Girl, I'm thinking fine like that. I see the picture, I'm scared. His eyes look so evil. Baby, I said, and then he also looks older than her. He also looks older than her. And I'm just like, okay, you got that going on. We also found out he does get a green card. He gets his passport. She opens up a bank account for him, helps him open up a bank account so that he can establish credit. So what she does is add him to one of her credit cards and gives it to him. And he winds up getting like a charge of $7,000, taking out a $7,000 cash advance. What the fuck? Okay. Then she goes and she was trying to see what was going on in his cash, in his bank, whatever. She finally get access to it some way, somehow. And come to find out, this motherfucker only got 34 cents in it to his name. And she still stayed. She still stayed. She confronted him. He's getting annoyed. Oh, the gambling excuse comes up and all this stuff. And I wonder if it really was a gambling issue at this point. And I'm just like, girl, what? Get out, get out, get out. She said, no, mama, I want to stay. I want to stay. I want to stay. I said, girl, whatever. Girl, you should have kept this in the drafts. Because at this point, it got to the point where things was going on when she found out that he was taking money from everybody and she was trying to confront him. And then he flipped the script on her, because I'm fast forward because I don't give a fuck about all that other shit. He flipped the script and basically said, you know what? Fuck this. Fuck you. I'm done. And he left. She took his passport and basically said, you ain't going nowhere. Okay? No, we can work this out. We can work this out. He was basically saying, bitch, get the fuck away from me. And he said, no, I want you to stay. We can work this out. And that's why we keep saying, the majority of us, she never would have left. This is what I'm saying when you say that you're a willing participant. Okay? She never would have left if he had not just left himself. Because not only did she take the passport, it got to a point where she eventually said, well, I'll mail it to you. No, he said, mail me my passport. No, I'll come down there and I'll give it to you, whatever. No, I don't want to see you. I don't want to this and da. And she still wanted to be with him. She still wanted to be with him. I guaranteed you, had he not packed his stuff up and left, and even if she would have still found out about the fact that, you know, the money being taken from the family, which she tried to do a little breakdown crying, which I was not buying at all. She still would have wanted to stay. If he would have said at that very moment, okay, we can talk about it, she would have took him back. She would have took him back, okay, taking him back. And then, you know, at one point he does leave, they do break up. He tries to love bomb her again, trying to get her to come back and all this stuff because, you know, he trying to finish off this con. See, he trying to milk it for all that he can. And at this point, he realized that he can't because, you know, he did try to roll up on her. She screamed and he left. Okay, cool. The part that really irked me about this whole situation, that I felt like what was the point about it, was when she said that her friend had came across him after them two had been out, And then the friend was going home and spotted him out on the street with some other woman holding her jacket or whatever, and they was at an ATM machine. And then she was like, she looked like some streetwalker or something like that, and she was a one at best and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, why did we need to talk about that? First of all, what did that lady do to you? Second of all, why do we care if she's a streetwalker or not, a sex worker or not? Why did you automatically assume that that's what it was? Even though I don't know what it was, but he said he was just getting weed from her or whatever. But hey, it is what it is. Why are we putting down sex workers? Why are you judging her looks and all that stuff because you want to say that she's a one compared to you or something like that? I mean, somebody could look at you and say that you're a one. Like, what was the point of that? What was the point of that? To say that he downgraded after you or whatever? Why? Why would you care? Because he hurt you, right? Like, I'm so confused about some things, and it feels like as much stuff that she's putting out there, there's a whole bunch of shit that we not hearing. And I'm not hearing that I should have opened my eyes at this point. I went on ahead and I stayed because of this reason, because of that reason, and now I see that, and I need to go and do some internal soul searching. I need to go to therapy to understand and unpack the reason why I allowed myself to stay in a situation that I knew was not good for me. I knew I was being taken advantage of. I heard no accountability, right? And the people are calling this out for the most part, because then you have people like, oh, you guys are victim blaming, and this is what stopped victims from coming out. No, baby, we're not victim blaming, okay? We're holding the mirror to you. That's what it is. Because sometimes we have to stop sugarcoating stuff. We have to stop hand-holding people, okay? We have to tell the fucking truth and stop being so politically correct in this extra sensitive society that we live in now. And we have to tell the fucking truth sometime. There comes a time where we can't just sit back and be like, oh, it can happen to anyone. We know this can happen to anyone, but what lesson did you learn from it? The way that you put the shit out there, your lesson, you didn't learn anything. Because I guaranteed you she can get back into another situation just like this. And she would probably stay longer and be okay with it. Because why? All she really saw was this white man with money. That's what she saw. And if that's the case, say that. But don't get upset at the people for calling out that you only was with this man because he was white, and you were, fascinated with the title and the money and all of this stuff, that you were blind about all of this. You have this, you want to be in proximity to whiteness. And that's how probably you were raised. And it's not just me calling out an American black person. Okay. You have your fellow Nigerians and other people from other countries in Africa coming out about the classism, the elitism, the white validation and how they perceive white people compared to black people. You know what I'm saying? Compared to their own African brother and sisters. You know what I'm saying? Like, we saw right through it. And then for the things to come out and the show, you literally was a sugar mama. That's basically what you was doing. You was a sugar mama to this white man. Okay? And the people that you around, they say that she MAGA. She want to say that she not, but they said, girl, nah, she was following Candace Owens and JD Vance and all that stuff or whatever. Girl, listen, that I don't even care, because you can tell, but with all of this, you can tell, okay? But at the end of the day, don't get up here and put up a video and say, black women are the main ones that's hating on you and all this stuff, when truth be told, it's everybody that's calling you out on you not having discernment in your life and in this situation, and you're not taking accountability, and you can't. This is what let me just put this out here, and I'm gonna be done with it. Do not. I love social media, because social media gives people a way to connect and find people who are like them. That's understandable, right? And I love that aspect of it. One thing that I love about TikTok too is because people always putting their mess out there. Y'all put us all up in your mess, okay? And again, y'all put us in your mess. So when it comes to social media, unless you have a private page, and you can't even do that because you're gonna have somebody that you are following and who probably a screenshot and put your shit everywhere. Okay? Don't get in your feelings. If you're going to put your business out there on a platform like TikTok, on a platform like Twitter, on a platform like YouTube, or wherever else, just understand, be prepared for people not to agree with you. Be prepared for some people to agree with you. Be prepared for people to be ignorant. And be prepared for people to be like, you didn't even need to do this. You just have to be prepared. And in a situation like this coming back, this is one of those situations where if you're going to put stuff up, make sure you're going to put up everything and be truthful with it. And this is what we're talking about, not taking accountability, and we not feeling it because we feel like, and especially me, there's parts of this shit that don't make sense. And then I'm hearing stuff from people that allegedly know her saying that they knew that something wasn't right and they told her, and because of that, she stopped being friends with him. This is according to them. Okay? And it's like, yeah, you're not telling, if you're going to tell things, don't eliminate stuff to make you look bad and make the person look worse than what he already looked like. Because he don't look good in this either. He was a fucking grifter. You fell for it. Shit, it happens to a lot of people. Okay? I'm not coming at you for that. It's just that don't get on here acting like, what we supposed to do with it? When you're not even fully taking accountability and understanding that you played a part in this and that you really were willing to go the mile for it. You really wanted this man to stay because of what? You thought he really had something. And when you realized that he did it, he was a white man that was tall, blonde, and blue-eyed. That's all that it was, girl. Just go ahead and say that shit. Go ahead and say that shit, girl. Okay? And again, be prepared for the backlash that could happen. And when you do get backlash, don't come out saying stuff that can eliminate and be a generalization and isolate the group of people that you are putting it out there for. Women. Specifically, in your case, black women. You ain't even have to put that rebuttal out there talking about the people hating and it's mostly black women and all this stuff, because now the ones that probably did give a damn, they don't give a damn, okay? Because we're not hating. We're trying to open up your eyes and tell you like you should have left, and we can see through this whole facade that you're putting on, all right? Like it's something, things ain't clicking, things ain't, 2 and 2 ain't equaling 4 in this situation, all right? And a few things can be true at the same time. You started off as a victim, yes, but then you became a willing participant because you had prime opportunity to get out. And yes, sometimes hindsight is 20/20 and people don't see things right away. But it comes a time where you do see things and you get the fuck out. You saw things and you decided to stay. He broke up with you and you begged that man to stay. And I mean beg and plead. Okay? He had 34 cents in his account and you still stayed. He lied about having a gambling addiction and you still stayed. He borrowed money from friends over $200,000 and you still stayed. He borrowed, quote unquote, money from you, probably over $10,000 at this point, and you still stayed. And maybe you put this out because this is the way that you're trying to heal from your divorce. I feel like you put this out too soon because you haven't fully learned and you're not healed. You're not healed. You're in the process probably of healing, but the divorce just became final a couple of weeks ago. Maybe you should have waited, okay? And then we could have revisited this when it was probably like next year, March of next year, some shit like that. And see then, and maybe you could have sat back and been like, I really did was stupid, and you could really evaluate the situation. That's where people are coming from at it, but hey, like I said, we all can fall victim to some things, but we got to be real and say, in a situation like this, the majority of us would have been caught on, okay? Because Google is our friend, you know? And you have to have people around you that's going to say, girl, wake that shit up. Do you see the fuck shit that's going on? I don't trust it. And the people around you have to be understandable that you just might not want to wake up, and you just gonna have to just let that bitch go ahead and go through, him or her go through what they need to go through until they wake up and realize this is what I was talking about. Okay? Sometimes you just gotta let a bitch go through some shit. All right? Because they ain't gonna listen because they be so strong in their stance. All right? And that's just really what it is. And then again, if you're going to put a story time out on these social media streets, be prepared for the good and the bad. And sometimes, depending on what it is, don't even give a rebuttal. Just let it play out the way that it needs to play out. And if it's some real fuck shit, bitch, be careful who you put up in there, because her family and friends catching strays and shit in this whole thing. And it's just crazy. But anyway, yeah, I feel like I'm going to do that. If something real nice or real juicy come up that becomes a trending topic that I got some thoughts on TikTok, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to talk about it. But thanks for listening, you guys. Y'all put y'all comments down there, how y'all feel about the situation, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.